Psalm 82, you will die like men. Okay, now before we get started, there's a couple of things I'm going to be talking about in the video today, and I want to show you something up front. So first is, I'll be telling you in the video about my timeline shift, my little supernatural encounter I had 2 days ago, and I got to record some of it. So let me first show you this. So let me hit, where do you hit play? Oh, right here. Let me hit play and show you. Camera roll. And we're going to see it's right here, two different angel flybys. So we're looking at the top by the clouds. Now it's hard to see because of the clouds, but can you see something moving right there? I'm making it go back. It's a white. Let me blow it up a little bit. It's right here. Maybe you can see it moving. See it moving right there? Is it a UFO? Is it a angel? I don't know. But can you guys see it? All right, let's try another one. Let's cancel that one, and let's go to right here. Watch, see for the angel flyby. I'm looking at a plasma ship there. But then we get an angel flyby. Do you see how fast that is? I'm slowing it down. But right there, now let me go regular speed so you can develop your supernatural eyes. Ready? I'll hit play. Bam. Do you see it? How fast that is? Got to get our supernatural eyes on. Angels are among us. SedonaUFO.com. Now, that was just my little supernatural. I got out of my cave one time this week, and I got to record that, and I'll explain the timeline shift to you. Now, I'm going to be talking about a lot about the little g gods among us that look like humans and are not, and some of their code words, how they hide themselves in their name, that you will know them by their fruit. Do you ever wonder about that? What is their fruit, if not their name? You will know them by their fruits because their name will reveal everything. So here's other things. I'm going to be doing a big reveal on the supernatural and explaining to you in Aramaic. So I know a reptilian when I see one. Do you see? Does those eyes look human to you? See the brick wall? They're Freemasons. They will always have in the background a brick wall. I'll go more into that. Let me pull up another one. The people that's with him. So he's standing there. He's got to act like he's going to start crying now. He's going to this camera's going to turn on, and he's going to, open up the waterworks and start crying because his 6-year-old daughter got shot in Sandy Hook. Here's his team with him. Now the wall's not blurred. Why are the shapeshifters' faces blurred? So half of his face is blurred. They're constantly shape-shifting. They just do it in a way that humans can't perceive it. But when you take pictures of them, the wall is fine. That side of the guy's face fine. This is fine. None of that's blurred. That's their code. Always a brick wall. Con, netiquette. So they pull off their con jobs. More on that later. So let's go to, I think that's all. Oh, I wanted to go to last thing. So I'll be talking about Disclosure Day in the video. Now this is my Disclosure CD or DVD. Disclosure begins with Anita Owens and Sedona. I put this DVD out about, I don't know, I think it was 2014 maybe. I don't really remember, a long time ago. Anyway, I was outside having my own UFO encounter and transmission, and I wanted to play it for you because it's exactly what is shown to you in the trailer, Steven Spielberg's movie coming out, Disclosure Day. In the trailer, Emily Blunt plays a character, a news anchor or something, and all of a sudden the insectoid race starts coming through. Well, I've been in contact with the insectoid race my whole life, and here's what they sound like. And they got it close in Disclosure Day. They got it pretty close. Here it goes. Anyway, that's what it sounds like. So let's get to Psalm 82. Now that's going to be scary for most of you guys. But we've got to start developing our supernatural abilities, sight, hearing, all of that. So when the hive mind, that was like a hive mind transmission. I'm not part of the hive mind, but they expose themselves to me so I can expose it to you guys. So anytime I need, whether it's angels or UFO, whatever I need to appear so I can record in any way so I can help with, as I said, disclosure. Now, let me pull up Psalm 82. Okay, so before I go into Psalm 82, I mean, it's a short, it's only 8 verses, but it's important. There's a lot of content that I'm going to be putting out on those 8 verses, right? So before I go into Psalm 82, let's open our minds to the fact that humans are not the only creation of sentient beings. We are, having said that, at the top rung of Jacob's ladder. But every rung underneath of us has a lower sentient and evil species. And God's creation is both light and dark, good and evil. That's just all there is to it. There are too many NHI, non-human intelligences, for any human to ever begin to wrap our heads around. So yesterday, I think it may have been 2 days ago actually by now, but anyway, this week, I left my cave twice. That hardly ever happens. We're talking, I may leave my cave twice in 1 year, like once a year. And that happened this week. Just so happened the only 2 friends I have both wanted to meet on the same day. I mean, it's just so rare. So I left. I had lunch with one friend and dinner with another. And I never even eat 2 meals a day. Here's the point. So it was at dinner, like that video I just showed you, that was at dinner because it was a nighttime sky, right? And I showed you the angel flyby. I was sitting on a deck at a restaurant here called Hideaway, a nice Italian restaurant if you ever make your way to Sedona. But earlier that day, I was at a different restaurant for lunch and I jumped a timeline. So let me explain how that happened. I jump timelines all the time. That's why I've had cancer for over 40 years now and I can't die because I keep jumping timelines. I don't get rid of the cancer. I just get a DNA upgrade or a DNA repair. So it can't take me out. So I was at a table with a friend, right? And I unrolled my silverware out of my napkin. Now, I have OCD, which means I have, what's the word I want? It's almost like a pattern. Everything I do has a pattern to it. It's a repeated pattern. That's just OCD. And so, because I'm very uncomfortable being a human. My soul is not human. So putting me in a human body creates extreme amounts of anxiety, OCD, phobias, you name it, I have it. So I'm very particular. Again, OCD. If you know somebody that has that, you understand what I'm saying here. I very meticulously fold a napkin and put it in its place. So I don't put it on my lap. And I went to take a bite of food. The napkin, it was a cloth napkin. It was right there. I took a bite of food. I go to grab the napkin after I took a bite of food, and it's gone. Disappeared. Nowhere on the table. And it's not on the floor. There's no one else in the restaurant. We were the first ones in the restaurant. It was 11 o'clock. The restaurant just opened up. So there was nobody in the restaurant. Nobody came and took the napkin. My friend who's sitting across from me could see there was nobody behind me. It's like, how did the napkin disappear? Well, that's it. My friend and I, in other words, I always jump a timeline by myself. That time, a timeline was jumped so that my friend would be able to get a DNA repair, a DNA upgrade. More on that later. The point is, jumping a timeline is when I started asking about what did this have to do with Psalm 82, because I was in the middle of the content. I've been 3 days working up this material for Psalm 82. And I said, what does that have to do with Psalm 82? So I'm going to start breaking it down for you. But it is a DNA repair. So all of the chemtrails, all the stuff they're spraying in our sky, if you do not have an NHI or your angels jump a timeline for you and get your DNA repaired, then you're going to be subject to the hive mind. So what they're doing in the sky is to prepare you to be overtaken by the hive mind. And that happens during pole shifts. Up to the pole shift. Okay. Let's get back to Psalm 82. So when you read it in your Bible, take note. Verse 1, it starts with capital G, God. And then the rest of the time, the word God is in Psalm 82 is lowercase g. And what we're being told in Psalm 82 is they will die like men. All right. So you know, men cannot die. They go on the death, birth cycle, reincarnation, but we don't die. Everything in God's creation is immortal, eternal beings. Whatever, good or evil, they're still immortal. There's going to be judgment. There's some angels that are in chains currently. You get my point. The point right here in Psalm 82 is men don't die. So we're constantly surrounded, not just by fallen angels, but fallen little g gods that was supposed to watch over us in this dome world. So, with death not being possible, these little g gods outnumber us. I'm going to say 10 to 1. That's just a guess. That's just me guessing. But the point is, they way outnumber us. They're very powerful. They have all they're little g gods. Okay, they have all kinds of supernatural abilities. One moment they can be a human, the next minute they can be a snake or a bird or a fish or a merfolk, you name it, right? They can change quite literally their species at any given moment in a blink of an eye. You know, they can become a werewolf, a centaur, half horse, half man, a satyr, half horse, half goat, a screech owl, doesn't matter. And they are now no longer allowed to hide as we near a pole shift. They no longer can hide their true selves. Why? Well, let's see what Jesus says about that. Matthew 10:26. Fear them not therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. Now you can read basically the same thing in Isaiah 40 verse 5, but I'm going to try and stick close to Psalm 82. Let's read verses 1 and 2, and I'll explain what the code of light, the Aramaic code of light is that you want to study on, what Psalm 82 is telling us. Verse 1, God standeth in the congregation of the mighty, he judgeth among the gods. So there's one true God. He has a time in which he will judge the little g gods. So that code of light here that you want to study in Aramaic is Kauf, K-A-U-F. It has a value of 100. It is the fourth. If you look at the codes of light above my TV, the last line is the first letter in the last line. That's Kauf. How long will ye judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked, Selah? So they are now among us. The persons of the wicked, if you go to the concordance here, the wicked is number 7563, Rasha, and it means hostile to God. So if they're hostile to God, what do you think they'll be to us? Psalm 82, verse 3, defend the poor and fatherless, do justice to the afflicted and needy. Verse 4, deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked. Rasha. That would be us humans. What they're talking about there, the soul, not just the body, the soul and the spirit of us humans out of their hands is coming. All right, let's read verse 5. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. So course here, it's not just out of course. It's not like just a little chaos, right? Course is number 4131, and it means to be greatly shaken. In other words, all mountains and every island out of its place. Another way to say that is the regularly scheduled pole shift. Now, what happens before the pole actually does shift? In one day, it's going to shift completely. The south will be north and the north will be south. That is to say, the South Star will be the North Star. The North Star will be the South Star. And that will happen in about 3 hours in one day. All right, so what happens before that? Well, the inner earth has to depressurize. And as the inner earth is depressurizing, it's letting right now, currently today, what is it, February 6, 2026, right now, the gases that we cannot see or smell, but will make people go crazy, the gases are coming out of the earth through the cracks in the dome, through the cracks in the ice wall, the firmament. That's what the Milky Way is, by the way. It's a scar from the last firmaments cracking open. It's a regularly scheduled thing, nothing new under the sun. I came here for it. So right now, there's gases. Not only are the gases coming up, and we're losing oxygen. So there's less oxygen and more gases that are not human friendly, but also water all over the world is evaporating. It's just going up. We're not seeing it. It's just evaporating all over the planet, so-called. All right. Everything in Nahum and Habakkuk is about the pole shift. So if you're troubled by Nahum and Habakkuk, they both only have 3 chapters each. It's all about the pole shift. That's what that's about. Now, if you really want to understand what I'm saying here about the water evaporating, okay, we can find that in Nahum 1, 4, and 5. Let's read it. He rebuketh the sea and make it dry, and drieth up all the rivers. Bashan languish, and Carmel and the flower of Lebanon languish. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at its presence, the world and all that dwell therein. And again, all of Nahum, all of Habakkuk, much of Isaiah, it's all about a pole shift. Now, because these immortal little g gods that never die, they've been through all these cycles. They know it. Okay, it's clockwork to them. And they know what that means for them. Not that they will die, but Satan's little season will now be gone until humans become as we are today. They'll have to recycle through trying to invade indigenous species, but they'll be run out for a time. At some point, the invasion will happen again. Are you keeping up? Okay. So the angels, fallen angels, princes that it talks about in Psalm 82, the little g gods in Psalm 82, they all understand that. They know where they are on the cycle. So they know that the inner earth life forms, right, of all kinds, will begin to surface. Just like right now, NASA is telling everybody about their Project Anchor. Well, someday in August, we're going to lose gravity for a so-called 7 seconds. Well, we do lose gravity when, as the Earth is depressurizing. things are going towards all of the cracks. Right now, the firmament on a daily basis is cracking. And you can see on social media, I did it, I punched that in, an algorithm in social media, worldwide explosions. And you can see people are recording, or their outdoor camera is capturing lightning coming from the ground going towards the firmament. So lightning out of the ground from inner earth, from the inner sun, coming out of the ground and hitting the firmament. People's trail cams and doorbell cameras are recording it. You hear explosions out of nowhere. People are just recording their kids playing in the yard, and out of nowhere, it's daylight, no rain, no thunder, and all of a sudden there's an explosion. All of that is the firmament. And that is why Artemis keeps changing. The so-called astronauts of Artemis keep changing their so-called timeline of going to the moon. They're actually trying to get through. They're watching and waiting and seeing where the crack is going to be the biggest to try and get their rockets through the crack and escaping what's coming. So they're trying, as they do always, they try to up their technology to escape the coming judgment that we read about in Psalm 82. So can we now understand why it seems everyone is into the satanic forces? This whole Epstein list, 3 million pages, really? What? That's why they outnumber us 10 to 1. Most humans are not like you and I, Betsy, right? Most of them worship, follow, and engage with fallen angels, little g gods, reptilians, and so on. They get something for that. So they have a timeline in which they will be revealed. As horrible as it is, we humans will be exposed to them. And their double row of shark teeth. Their shape-shifting ability on our perception is diminishing. It's going away. And you've got to be strong in your spiritual authority in order to stand them down, or they will come at you like a shark. So the power is in your name. Back to Psalm 82, let's read the last 3 verses. I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. But ye shall die like men, and fall like one of the princes. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations. Now, what we know about this is man does not actually die. They just go on an endless death-birth cycle called reincarnation, which means the gods of Psalm 82 are among us. Again, they look human, but they are not. They have all of their angelic, little g gods, supernatural abilities. We call it sorcery. We call them witches, warlocks, vampires, werewolves, shapeshifters. And again, they outnumber us. 10 to 1 is not an exaggeration. At least I don't feel it's an exaggeration because I can see them. I see them everywhere. I know what is human and what is not. I've spent my whole life in the supernatural. And I'm here to help you guys out because coming this year, everything will be supernatural. Wait until your kids and your adults, all of your family is taken over by that transmission I just played you from my disclosure video. Here, pause now and go, I guess I would say, look at the trailer, the movie trailer, Steven Spielberg's latest film, not going to be released until June of this year, called Disclosure Day. So, most of the people are spiritually dead, right? They are filled with darkness. As told to you in the documentary / movie, They Live. Remember, people walking around, and if you had the special sunglasses, they were just skeletons. That means spiritually dead. All right, now Psalm 82 can give us a good idea, now that we read that, and explains Jude, all of Jude really well. But I'm just going to read Jude 1, verse 4. For there are certain men crept in unawares, who were before of old ordained to this condemnation, ungodly men, turning the grace of our God into lasciviousness, and denying the Lord God and our Lord Jesus Christ. So notice there, this dome, it says, before of old ordained to this condemnation. That's what we're in. Okay, well, let's stop calling earth earth and just call it what it is, condemnation. You got to graduate out of here. You got to become spiritually mature. And that's not following religious narrative. That's keeping your head in the living word. And that's the only way spiritual maturity happens, not following a narrative. Following a narrative will keep you in condemnation under the religious so-called pastors of fallen little g gods that crept in unawares. They look like a man, but they're not. They're here to make sure you follow their narrative. They crept in unawares. Fallen angels, little g gods, seraphim. Seraphims are reptilians. You're aware of that, right? Fiery, flying serpents. Read Isaiah 6. Okay. So they keep you on their karmic cycle. They have to keep going through the death, birth. There's no light for them. They're not going to obtain the light. At least that's what I believe today. Maybe next Sabbath. Well, in a couple of hours, Sabbath begins. So maybe next week I'll change my mind on that. I don't know how my neural network will get rerouted today. Anyway, the fallen angel. Now, you can't look at any human at this point and think, did something creep in unaware? Literally question everything. So the fallen angels are the karmic cycle. They die like men. You and I, Betsy, are not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to. We need to spiritually mature, become the bride, that is to say an angel. There's no difference. Call it bride, call it angel. I already said that in the last video. Jesus said that you will live as the angels do in heaven. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. So the karmic cycle is governed, run, and ruled by little g God fallen angels. They just keep dying and coming back to life. And more of them. They just keep populating. So now that we are here once again in the fallen gods, what's going to happen this weekend? You guys know what's going on this weekend? It is the biggest, I guess I would say, ritual for the kingdom of darkness. They call it the Superb Owl. Super Bowl, move that B from bowl back to super. Superb Owl. Why is saying an owl? Because the owl is the greatest night predator. The owl has the best vision of all of the night predators. So it's Superb Owl. That's going to happen this Sunday. Do you know what happens underground in the unseen realms of how many humans are going to be sacrificed? That is mostly to say babies. And all of these humans who willingly participate in their satanic worship ritual. Babies worldwide, bloods will be spilled. So while many think they are just watching a game, it's not a game, it's idolatry to Satan, to Moloch, to Baal. You're watching your precious game, you're idolizing the Epstein files, of which, there's never going to be any arrest or any justice. Why? Because they're fallen gods of Psalm 82. Gods don't put away gods. They just mock us humans who never figure it out. There's not going to be You know, they're not, they sacrifice their own because they know they're going to come back. So, you know, it's not a big deal. Right? They understand the cycle. So some little G gods will sacrifice, there'll be deaths going on. So listen, if you think you're just watching a game and you don't understand that it's a pre-planned, who's going to win, who's going to score, all of that's pre-planned. If you don't understand that is a ritual, little G gods showing off their ability, their talent, they need your worship, they need 60,000 or however many people is in a football stadium. I've never been in one, I don't know. It looks big to me. All right, if you're watching this and you don't understand, you are participating and agreeing the harvesting of your soul to a satanic spell. You are of no use to anyone spiritually, so just step aside. If you're not using your life as a spiritual tool in service to others, to spiritually be useful to others, you have no importance whatsoever. Like it or not, I'm not here to make friends. I really don't care if you subscribe or not. I don't need a thumbs up. I don't need you to like, share, subscribe. None of that. I'm not your friend. I'm here for spiritual, supernatural, eyes that can see and ears that can hear. That's it. We can only rise above their idolatry and not participate in the ongoing idolizing when we endlessly talk, right? That's what top platforms of so-called Christians, they can only talk endlessly, right? They're still talking about the CK guy assassination. They've been talking about the Epstein files for, I don't know, since 7 years now? 10 years? I don't even know. It's just ongoing. Or about their favorite politicians or presidents. It's all idolatry. Religion, no matter how big your platform is, I should say, religious platforms. They call themselves Christians or whatever their guru is. We're never going to see justice. Why? Because this is their world, not Jesus. Jesus doesn't belong in this kingdom. Jesus will not bring justice to this dome. Who brings justice to this dome? Brides do. Brides, angels do. Right? Brides can only speak the truth. The problem is the Christians or the religions in this dome will not stop their rituals, which gives the evil their louche permission to keep eating babies after they torture the baby for days, if not weeks. It's humans going to rituals, that is to say, going to church, to temple, to synagogue, whatever your religion building are called. No matter what you call your religion, it's a ritual. You are doing the same thing weekly. Singing songs at the same time weekly. You're doing your talking points at the same time weekly. Under a fallen little G god. A man crept in unaware. If you think your pastor, rabbi, priest, whatever he's called, is not of Psalm 82, you're under their spell, working for their god, Satan, giving your worship to the demiurge, banking on your soul into their Death Star, their cycle, watching their sport events in the millions. Brides simply don't do this. They know better. But you know, as brides, we don't have a voice. This video is going to get 9 views, right? I don't have a voice. Brides don't have voices. Nobody's following the narrative of a bride. That is that's an inconvenient truth. All right? Don't make me get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to go ahead and keep following my big box religions and big box social platforms. That's where my comfort lies. That has no spiritual use whatsoever. Why are you here? You're here for your soul's evolution. You're here to spiritually mature. And you don't get that from a religious guru. Brides don't follow the narrative. Whether you call it the narrative Christians or religions, it's all nails on a chalkboard. To listen to a Christian, at least it was to me, since Jesus came into this room and touched me on the shoulder and said, you are in my book of life. He came to me. Why? Because I'm a bride. I've already achieved that. Jesus comes to his brides. That's why I could never listen to a Christian platform of any kind. I tried, I really did. But it was so evil as they preached in the name of Jesus. I tried listening to Christian authors. I have 2 of his books. You can see his books on my bookshelf right there in front of you. Gary Wine. I have both of his books. I considered him an excellent researcher, and he is. But he still buys the narrative. I just saw him, I don't know, last time I even tried to look was maybe 2 years ago, and he was still on the narrative about Nimrod built the Tower of Babel. That's a narrative, and it is Bible. It's a basic lie. Nimrod does not exist in Genesis 11. It doesn't exist. Nimrod only existed in the concordance 4 times, and those 4 times are not Genesis 11. It had nothing to do with the Tower of Babel. Do you see? You can do all the research in the world, but you're still indoctrinated by a narrative, because that narrative is 2,000 years old. Thank you, Rome. We're still following a Roman narrative. What do we not see about that? I don't get it as a collective. As a collective consciousness, we can't go beyond the narrative. It's sad. So, Christians have a narrative they preach to you, which is so far, their narrative, the Christian narrative is so far removed from the Bible. I don't even know what to say about that. It's evil. I would say that the Christian narrative is evil to its core. It's rotten to its core. Because it's way removed from the Bible. What a Christian will tell you is not what the Bible says. Now, it may take a person, as it did me, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for over 6 years to figure that out. Because my mind, too, we come in, collective consciousness, we come in to a snared trap. That narrative is like lubricant on your central nervous system. It's hard to get rid of that lubricant and get a new lube job, if you will. You know what I'm saying, Betsy, right? It's so far removed. The Christian narrative is so far removed from the Bible. Why? Well, because the fallen men crept in unawares. The Christian narratives are by little fallen G gods. Period. If you don't want to accept that, I get it. Get a new lube job, and one day you'll be able to accept that. Realize that your central nervous system is lubricated by the darkness. That's what the Sabbath's for. You're going to get a new lube job. You're going to get a new neural network. My Sabbath here in Sedona starts in 3 to 4 hours. It gets dark now about 7. So I still got another 4 hours. Anyway, I got to get some things done before Sabbath starts. So a new narrative comes with this whole pole shift. This year, you're going to see pole shift symptoms, put it that way, pole shift symptoms like never before. You're going to see the, what's the word I want? The supernatural. You're going to see the supernatural like you've never seen it. You know? And the whole reason for the pole shift is to finally collapse the kingdom of darkness. All of their churches, all of their buildings, temples, synagogues, all of the schools, all of the systems of this world. The pole shift will allow us humans to incarnate in and to spiritually mature without the kingdom of darkness systems and narratives and indoctrinations over our heads. We will come in as tribes, of small tribes of people, and we will live telepathically in harmony with nature and the animals and all of God's creation. All right? And we'll live like that for hundreds or thousands of years. We'll spiritually mature. Our souls will go on to live in other creations, other dome worlds, whatever you want to think of it, as the systems of darkness, Satan's little season begins again. All right? It's a cycle. It's not a one and done. It's not a one time and off. All right, at some point, humans will reach the status of accepting, oh yeah, now we're going to build houses, now we're going to build temples, now we're going to build schools, blah, blah, blah. It all will have thousands of years of humans being able to spiritually mature before Satan's little season, cycle, nothing new under the sun, comes in again. This whole Christian narrative of, oh, we're in it, it started whatever it started and it's going to end. Oh, okay, it's just a cycle. It happens in the dome worlds. So, I got to harp on Paul again. A bride, here's the narcissism of Saul, you guys call him Paul, self-appointed apostle, self-proclaimed, like all of the Christian pastors today have to call themselves a prophet. Everybody talks about how God's talking to them. Okay. Anyways, go to the concordance and put in my gospel. Jesus never says it. Jesus' real apostles never said it. My gospel in the concordance is said 3 times by Paul. Romans 2:16, Romans 16:25, and 2 Timothy 2:8. So if your pastor, whatever, is calling Paul an apostle, that's a satanic narrative, period. I know, there's a lot of Bessies out there that can't accept that. You spend time actually in the living word, and the living word will teach you what it says. So if your pastor is still following the satanic narrative of Paul, all right, you know where he's from. He's a Psalm 82, little God, fallen man. They must always reveal themselves. How are they revealing themselves? By their fruit. What their fruit? They're following Paul. So if you're wondering, if you can't figure it out in their name, I'm going to try and teach you a little bit of how to figure it out in their name, understanding Aramaic. If you're going to do the religious route and you're using the Holy Bible and they're preaching more on Paul, well, there's their fruits. Has nothing to do with Jesus. That's the big reveal. So that's fine. Keep following your pastor or religions, but you're following Paul, right? And you will be a bride of Paul. That is to say, you will stay with the little g gods and fallen angels on a death-birth cycle. You will never become the bride of Jesus. 99% of every Christian today is a bride of Paul. That's just a sad fact. That is to say, they follow doctrines of narrative for big business. All right, what's the biggest business in this dome world? Religion. What is the biggest money? Follow the mammon. It's religion. There's nothing bigger. Money, people, and real estate, and torturing and eating of babies than religion. That's the facts, Jack. Like it or not. They don't follow Jesus, they follow Paul. They don't want you to read the Bible. They need you to come in and listen to their narrative. Pastors today are no different from media today. It's all a lie, it's all theatrics to keep you distracted and out of the Bible. Only the Bible can unlock your fallen consciousness. Look, if you're here, you're trapped in a body with a fallen consciousness until the living word unlocks that. and that's the only thing that can do it in this dome world, is the living word. The only way, getting your religious narrative from someone with an indoctrinated title, like if they have a title to their name, if they're calling themselves with some title, that's indoctrination, and it is louche for Satan's archons and demons. Now, as we grow closer to Psalm 82, verse 5, right? Remember that? All the foundations of the earth are out of course. Again, the great shaking. This time, the flip. We finally break apart what we did at Atlantis. Part of what's going on here today started in Atlantis. You have to know what happened in Atlantis to understand we're still under the Atlantis influence. That's why the Romans did what they did. You got to know Atlantis in order to understand what's going on. Anyway, it's going to end. It's going to end. I remember Atlantis like I was there yesterday. It's why I'm here today. For the millions of souls, at least trapped in my bloodline, the millions of souls that are in the louche, snared nets. And the portals around this dome are opening, and beings are gathering. Just like the plasma ship. When you saw the angel flyby on that video, I was recording a plasma ship. So I didn't show you a lot of the plasma ship. If I remember, the next time I'll show you the plasma ship. Anyway. Every time I go out of my cave, which isn't often, I do get, now today, more angels than dragons. Years ago, I used to get mostly dragons. Now I get mostly all angels. So, one thing to know, shape-shifting. The seraphim are the highest ranking of angels, right? Satan was a cherubim and a seraphim. But his high-ranking angels are seraphim. And they can shape-shift and look like humans. Now, as the pole is going towards its rotation, right? South, north, north, south. As it's going towards its rotation, their holography is beginning to break down. So the shapeshifters, when it says all will be revealed, is because they don't have their technology to keep them hidden. That's how all is going to be revealed. It's not putting out the Epstein files. All of the inner earth people are going to come up in their true form, their true nature. Humans will freak out. All of the reptilians, the seraphim, all of them, their technology, there's a period of time, it's just a cycle, but there's a period of time in their technology, as it was in Atlantis, all of their technology will fail them. And so they will be revealed because they don't have tech to keep them protected. And our skies, is any day now, our skies will be full of what most people, I imagine, will just say dragons. I imagine that will be the go-to term. And most people worship dragons, by the way. There's a lot of people out there that love dragons. That is until they bite you or catch you on fire. So, the Bible, the living word, is a cycle. It is a predictable pattern. And those running our world and all of its indoctrination know this pattern. The producers, the directors of big box movies, Hollywood, music videos, they know this year is a year for disclosure. Which is why the biggest filmmaker in Hollywood, the last 50 years, right? I mean, his biggest movie, I guess, was Jurassic Park, maybe, I don't know. But anyways, 3 of his big movies was E.T., War of the Worlds, and Close Encounters. Why do you think that is? Why would those be his 3 big movies? That's Steven Spielberg. This June, he's putting out a movie, I should say, just June. They will, in the movie theaters, put out Disclosure Day. Now, I went to see a trailer on this movie. The trailer's under 3 minutes, but I saw a couple of things. I saw shape-shifting, I saw hive mind, and I saw kids that were telepathic. So it's the same thing. Now he remember they were here for Atlantis. All these people that do the music videos and the Simpsons TV show. Okay, it's all this. They're not creative. They did the same thing now that they're doing in Atlantis. I watched it in Atlantis. I watched it in Lemuria. It's a pattern. It's a cycle, and the Bible covers it all. When you open up your mind past the religious narrative, it's all there. It's all right there. So I saw Disclosure Day. I saw the trailer, and it's why I played that transmission, that creepy transmission that I have on my Disclosure DVD that I made over 10 years ago, and why I had that experience, because they understand, right? Those who gave me that transmission, that sound that you heard, that was a hive mind transmission. They gave me that because they knew I would be one of the only voices teaching people about this, because the hive mind's going to start, and it's not going to end, and you're not going to know what to do about it. I'm telling you now, if you don't get into your spiritual authority, take back the name given to you on your birth certificate, use your name given to you by the codes of light, the language of your soul, you'll have no spiritual authority, and you will not be able to avoid becoming part of the hive mind. It's coming. I watch it in Atlantis. I try, just like I'm trying to save a soul right now. And I'm only going to save one Betsy out there. I went to Atlantis to do this the last time around. It was like yesterday. So, in the Disclosure Day video, trailer, whatever you call it, in the trailer, there's a character. She's a news anchor of some type, played by Emily Blunt. Can I just, a side note here? When they purposely choose their name, Emily Blunt, there's no Aleph. There's not an A in her name. Why? Well, they hate God. They hate God. They're hostile to God, right? Russia, wicked. Russia, they're hostile to God. So they don't want an Aleph. Why? Because that is the fiery source. Aleph, that is the first fire of source. I would not be talking with anyone that doesn't have at least one Aleph, ideally 3, but at least one Aleph. I mean, just the word Aramaic has 3 Alephs. Do you think that's a coincidence? So take note. I mean, if you want to know them by their fruit, how many Alephs are in their name? How many Aleph is A? How many A's are in their name? How many gateways, like Ta, is in their name? That's one way. Let me talk about knowing them by their fruits. The top tier, again, high-ranking angels, are seraphim. So they will have 2 words to know what a seraphim is, to know the little fallen G gods, or seraphim. All right. What do we know? What does Psalm 82 teach us? They were gods, and they were princes. That is to say, they were sons of God. All right, they were princes. That's just a title. That's an angelic title. All right, but they were sons of God, and they will die like men. That means the word son is going to be in their name. That those 3 letters together, S-O-N, and man is going to be in their name, M-A-N. Why? Because they have to tell you their fruit. They must reveal themselves. It's a spiritual law, or they're annihilated from the karmic cycle. They must reveal themselves. We're just not in on we don't know the code, right? They're not giving us humans, puny humans, the legend to figure this out. The only way you figure this out is you become into your spiritual authority. So once you understand the 22 codes of light and you really take time to study, because each code has a 300-page meaning. It's not a couple of words like the Hebrew tried to tell you. No. Dalet means way more than just door. It's a 300-page book. So I think I've have, run that home. So Emily Blunt is playing back to the news anchor in the To Close Your Day movie. She has taken over. So she's speaking, and all of a sudden her voice, that is to say, her mind and body is taken over. She becomes instantly, without any warning, hive mind. So she's part of a hive mind network controlled by NHI. It's an insectoid race. I've been with them all my life. So and so has, Steven Spielberg. So he nailed it. It sounds just like it does through Emily's. When you're around mantis, that's what they sound like, the insectoid race. And again, some have obtained the light. The ones that I were with, the 20-foot mantis I were with, obtained the light. They were way more spiritual than any human I've ever met in Atlantis or Earth. I've never been around a human that radiates love and just pure goodness of God, like a 20-foot mantis. I'll be the first one walking down the streets with them. So, again, it was my job to warn the people of Atlantis and Lemuria before that the hive mind is coming. So when the extreme number of souls exit the body, they go to the, tunnel of light, the satanic system with all the others. It's how they do. That's why the hive mind takes over. So that it's too late. Spiritual authority, too late. If all of a sudden you're under the hive mind network, that's millions, if not billions of souls at a time taken to the satanic light system. That's why it works. It was told to you, and I don't know what was that. There was lots of TV series where it shows the hive mind, they show that because they have to show you that. Everything has to be revealed. Anyways, moving on. So if you're still going by religious narrative, or you're following the preachings or teachings of Paul or Joseph Smith or Abu Adabu, or whatever your religious guru name is, if you're following anybody other than Jesus, that's hive mind. You're hive mind material. And if people don't start to come together and confront their pastors on their lies, if they don't put a stop to not only to religions, but in your hometown, the lies of our history taught to your own kids in their own classrooms, we got to stop as parents or grandparents going along to get along. It's why 99% wore a mask for over a year, so they could get a head count on their hive mind. Let's see how big my hive mind network's going to work. How many souls will our hive mind network that's coming here in a few years. Let's tell everybody to stand 6 feet apart, satanic ritual. Let's tell everybody to put a mask on their face, satanic ritual. And let's just see how many souls we've got lined up in our hive mind this time around. It wasn't that big in Atlantis, I can tell you that. I can see that 99% of every single human alive in 2020 wore a mask when they were by themselves in their own car. That's how well the narrative has created a hive mind. And if I sound angry, I am. Because it's like, man, they didn't succeed. I hate to see the evil keeps getting bigger and bigger. They keep winning more souls. They didn't get that many in Atlantis. They just didn't. There was a lot of people that chose transhuman over the hive mind. And there's a good chance before the hive mind period ends, then what's left will go with the transhuman thing. But I'm telling you, the hive mind in Atlantis, it was 1% compared to the amount of people that wore a mask in 2020. 1%. That was a head count, so they would know how big their network would be. They needed that head count. I get that no one else is going to tell you this. That's why I'm here. It's my only purpose. So, that movie, if I recall right, I think it said it's going to open up in June 12th, 2026. I forgot to stoke the fire, and now it's going to something where I make it copyrighted, so I'm going to turn that off. So hopefully that didn't get me flagged. Oh well. So anyways, 13, I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of, some of their gods are going to be sacrificed. You're going to find some famous people, right? Usually like 3, their favorite number, 3, 6, and 9. 3 famous people will probably be sacrificed 13 days before Disclosure Day opens and 13 days after Disclosure Day. Now, sometimes they turn it around as 31, but you get my point. Brides of Jesus cannot be put under the hive mind, and we know how the hive mind works. We expose it time and time again. But as you guys well know, my videos, this video will get maybe 9 views. So I hope someone who has a platform will begin to warn and teach, at least save the kids, how not to get into the snares and the nets of the hive mind. So if you're under the impression that religious leaders, politicians, presidents, professors, doctors, any indoctrinated title, if you think that they're not under the hive mind, indoctrination, prepping you with their narrative for this takeover of your human soul, you're under the same spell and you will not be able to protect the little ones. Now the little ones will see, most of the little ones will see through it. They did show, in that trailer, Disclosure Day, they showed a girl who was telepathically talking with deer and birds and little animals. She was walking telepathically, probably towards safety. I don't know. The Disclosure Day trailer just showed her walking with animals. I could tell they were portraying her as being telepathically linked to nature and not to the hive mind. That's what's coming. Choice 1 or 2. You're either linked telepathically with nature and animals, or you're with the hive mind. There's not a third choice, right? That's it. You better know NHI when they show up. Are they the good guys or the bad guys? Right? The only thing that the school system is designed for is to put your child into a hive mind network. That's it. All thinking the same. The indoctrination is prepping towards a hive mind system. And again, once we do the hive mind, then it'll be the transhuman thing. I'll talk more on that later. Going back to how to recognize little g gods of Psalm 82. They'll have 3 3 words that you're going to be looking for. 2 of the 3 is son and man. Because they were sons of God, they will die like man. Now it can be men, M-E-N, same meaning, whether it's men or man. So let me just read, again, pause right here and read Matthew 7. You will know them by their fruits. Matthew tells us there's nothing more important than your name. You will be known by my name. All right, read Matthew 7 on you will know them by their fruits. There is nothing more powerful. If you know Aramaic, you know there's nothing more powerful than your name. You know, what do we think fruit is? Their actions? Actions can be faked. But your name, that is your fruit. Now, let's look at the biggest name, the past 50 years. This setup of the hive mind started in the 70s. So what was one of the biggest things? I remember the biggest name I can remember being maybe only 10 years old, what was shown all over TV, was one of the biggest court cases ever. Do you guys remember it? Charlie Manson. He actually tells you, man, son. Man, M-A-N, son, S-O-N. He just throws it out there. There's no guesswork. Man, son. They will either have man or son. Next, I remember after Charlie Manson, what was the biggest next thing? The biggest, idol? Was that not Michael Jackson? And then we all remember the white Bronco. Remember that? Who was in the white Bronco driving down the highway? O.J. Simpson. What about the famous time when a boxer bit some guy's ear off? in a boxing match. His name was Mike Tyson. And then next we have WWF. You remember that? And The Rock came in, Dwayne Johnson. Have you ever wondered why the TV show The Simpsons is always right in their predictions? It's all staged. They did it in Atlantis. They're doing it again. Look, they're time travelers. They do not like humans. They know how to manipulate you. Their psychological operations have been perfected. It's called school. They don't follow linear time. They are supernatural, putting everything in its place for us humans, thinking and perception to catch up to them. What's some of the largest banksters? What's the banking mafia? Is it not Goldman? Man. There was a guy that was on what was it? On death sentence. He was going to go to court and receive a death sentence, and he got off. Was his name not Mangione? Mangione? You will see them by their fruits. You will see the word son or man in their name. First name or last name. It's usually last name. Now, it's also why they decided to call themselves Free Masons. Mason. They're free from now. Their cycle's going to end. Satan's little season's going to end. It'll come back. Not in your lifetime. All right. That's what happens. The pole shift will end it. And we will be without their... It takes them years to get their systems in place. It takes time. And we will live freely as indigenous people for our souls to evolve and mature, not needing Satan's narrative. If you're following a narrative, it's satanic, period. I don't care what you call the narrative. Now, what are some of their other fruits you can look for? Remember the picture I showed you at the beginning of the video, the brick wall? Look for the brick wall. If you're watching any news article, it doesn't matter. Turn the volume down. Don't listen to the theatrics of whatever school shooting, so-called school shooting has taken place, or whatever it is. If they're standing in front of a brick wall, they went out of their way to find a brick wall. They have to show you their con jobs. Sandy Hook was in Connecticut. Connecticut. Look for the brick wall. Any tragedy, any news tragedy, narrative, theatrics that they're showing you, they have gone out of their way to put a brick wall or an orange cone. Mostly brick walls, but some of the Little G Gods networks, they like orange cones. There's a reason for that. They're mocking humans, our ignorance, and we can't figure them out. We don't see their patterns. So look for the word con. JFK. Remember JFK? Go on YouTube. Pull up JFK's, Dallas assassination. 1 second, and I do mean 1 second before that trigger, there was a person out of his car's coming down. There's people everywhere on both sides of the street, people everywhere. And all of a sudden there's a big gap where there's no people. And his car passes a woman, a person, in the biggest orange parka, like a full-length orange coat. The brightest orange you've ever seen. And 1 second after JFK, you lose that frame, right? That woman, that person standing there in the orange coat, he gets shot. And was he not in a Lincoln Continental? Lincoln Continental? What about all of the members of Congress? The tragedies, again, I talked about Sandy Hook in Connecticut, or the tragedies in Wisconsin. Look, their patterns, they have to show you their fruits. It's a pattern. Once you know the pattern, you can't unsee it. And you see that all of news, all of media, all of theatrics, it's all a con job. they constantly reveal their fruit. So look for con, look for sun, look for man, look for brick, look for the color orange, whether it's an orange cone or, they stage a person, they place a person in orange for a reason. Why? Well, they have to reveal their fruit. It's the only way they can stay on the karmic cycle. They want to keep back and keep doing it. It's called Satan's little season. And they want their handful of years to capture as many human souls as possible. That is to harvest, to enslave. It is Elush. Stop following the narrative. And if you want Satan's little season to end, stop following their narrative. Just stop. Stop at the rituals. Stop sending your kids to school. Stop everything that you can afford to stop. You can afford not to go to church. You can definitely afford that. You can afford for your kids not to go to school. You got a tree in your yard that can teach them more than a school teacher can teach them. Right? Everybody is under the playbook and narrative of fallen little g gods. They're the big box pastors. Who's one of the biggest ones? I think is it Joel Osteen. They spend all their time on preaching on Paul. Probably, I don't know. I can't stand to look at the guy, let alone listen to him. But they'll give you feel-good sermons. Oh, by faith and grace. That's not what Jesus taught. That is directly against the teachings of Jesus. That is a slap in his face. Faith without works is dead. You're not doing Matthew 25, you're dead. Jesus will say, depart, I never knew you. This entire dome world is a production for young souls. The production is ending and Atlantis is returning and no one will know it, will see it coming. Why? Because it's already arrived. It's here. Hello? Welcome to the Red Horse. Fire Horse technically begins February 17, but it's here. Isn't that like next week? Like next weekend or something? All of us over 40 will go into amnesia. I won't. But the majority, what you're going to see, here's what's coming. Just giving you a heads up. What you're going to see is everybody's going to go into amnesia. All right, they did that predictive programming. The latest movie they put out, I think it was this year. No, maybe it was last year. Probably last year. Greenland, #2. They make the movies that tell us what's coming. They have to, in order for their success in harvesting souls before a pole shift. So the pole shift to return this dome back into Luge for their karma, death, birth cycle on us humans. So right now, there are a lot of humans who are probably brides, because brides come here to help. That's what we want to do. Our only job is to be in service to others. So there's a lot of brides here right now. They don't remember they're a bride. They don't know they're a bride. There's a ton of brides here. Why? Because we come in to help young souls. We come in like I did for that one soul. I'm here to help one soul. Right? That's how much a soul means to a bride and to our Creator, Jesus. So there's a lot of brides trapped in their lives, in their con jobs. So what's happening? Us brides need a very certain type of oxygen that NHIs don't need. NHIs need an oxygen found in inner earth. Humans could not survive in inner earth. You and me as a bride, us type of there's other humanoid species that look human. They still don't require the same gases you and I, Betsy, require. Our gas mixture, our mixture of gases is now leaving. All right, there's cracks in the firmament and it's escaping. So what you and I need to live on, Betsy, it's leaving us. so that all can be revealed. So all of the creatures, all the NHI living under the earth, in the earth, can come to the surface. It's their time to be surface dwellers. That's what's happening right now. That is why NASA, not a space agency, tells us we will lose gravity this coming August. How do they know that? How do they know that? How do they know that we're going to lose gravity, what they say, I think, for 6 or 7 seconds on August? They have a date. I didn't bother to take my time and look up the date, but they have a date, August something in 2026. For 7 seconds, they say, whatever, we're going to lose oxygen. This is a cycle, predictable. And they don't want the masses to go crazy. They got to give you a little heads up. They're not going to tell you that all of a sudden you're just going to have amnesia, you're not going to remember everything, because the oxygen required for you to remember everything is going to be gone. So, listen, here's another thing. What they did in Atlantis for the hive mind, they wanted to make sure to get as many kids as possible. People were sending their kids, again, to institutes. You call it classrooms or schools. You're sending your kids somewhere where they can just be rounded up and put on a bus and taken away and never seen again. Keep that in mind as you want to send your kids to school every day. You're in a very dangerous time to be losing control of your kids. Don't do that. Your kids don't need a classroom. Do not put them in a situation where they can be rounded up and taken away and never seen again. It'll never be, that kind of theatrics won't be on the media. You won't hear about that you won't know that it happened all over the world, that all the kids were gone all over the world. It happened in Atlantis. I'm telling you, there's nothing new under the sun. So, brides, I can tell you, you've got a team of angels around you, and you're going to start seeing a timeline shift. 1 minute, the napkin's on your table, the next minute it's not. Why? It was for a DNA repair. They're going to repair your DNA back to its original blueprint so that you can get back your telepathic abilities, get back your telekinetic abilities, and inform, if not protect, and secure your family's safety. And do a time. You don't need to go through a pole shift. They can put you on a different timeline. You're not going to experience the fear and the drama or trauma. All right. You're not going to go through the great shaking of Psalm 82:5, where the foundations are out of course. All right. Your telepathy will be restored. You can step into your spiritual authority and help others to know the good guys and the bad guys, because everyone's going to be scared when 20-foot tall praying mantis are walking down the neighborhood. And again, at this time I'm being told it's a 70-30 split. 30% of all the creatures that will surface during this year have obtained the light. Only 30%. 70% have not. So you will need to know the difference on who to follow, to what portal or stargate to safety. So, again, Archangel Michael sent me here to read the Bible, right, without a religious narrative, and with the lens of the supernatural, and restore the Bible's integrity by reading what the Romans took out of it, all of the books. I've read everything that I can find that was taken out of the Bible. I've read the Septuagint. I've gone through all of it. So I will continue to overthrow today's narrative. We are not born in sin. We did not sin by eating from the tree of knowledge. We liberated ourselves out of the fallen Garden of Eden. What was it? Where did we first make a clone? It was taking a rib out of Adam in his deep sleep. The first clone was Eve, the one that was made the Eve that was made from the rib of Adam. That was the first clone in the fallen garden. Real Eve saved Adam from his deep sleep, and we liberated ourselves out of that. Do you see that's 100% against the narrative religiously? The religious narrative is to keep you disempowered, out of your power. You're a sinner. You're a sinner. You're born in sin. I ask you, Mom and Dad, when you look at your babies, do you tell them that? Then why send them to Sunday school to get told that? As I've already said, Nimrod did not build the Tower of Babel. We Sethians, we built that with our natural telepathic, telekinetic abilities. Why? To attack the demiurge archons and take back this kingdom. Do you see how it is so important for the fallen little g gods, for humans, not to know their power? Because we have more power than them. They're supernatural. They have a lot of supernatural power, but we have spiritual authority that they do not. But you follow a religious narrative, you're giving your spiritual authority away. You're saying, I don't care about my spiritual authority. Let me kick it out the door and let me worship a little g fallen god. That's all religions are for. Idolatry to a little fallen g god. To their indoctrinated, entitled, so-called men crept in unaware. Religious authority, or I should say not authority, but religious narrative has no supernatural understanding. Religious narrative doesn't teach any kind of spiritual warfare. They don't even teach Demon 101, let alone Angel 101. It only reminds you weekly to follow the ritual and that you're a sinner, born in sin, which is basic Bible fact, a lie. Sin, go look it up. Sin means to miss the mark, which simply means there will be a consequence for your action. That's all that means. That means karma. Go to the concordance and read the 388 verses with the word sin. 388. Spend a Sabbath on that. If you still want your religious narrative over what I'm telling you, that there would be a good time with the Sabbath. 388 verses. I only care about what Jesus has to say about it. And the first time Jesus uses the word sin is in Matthew 12:31. Let me read it. Wherefore I say unto you, all manner of sin and blasphemy shall be forgiven unto men. But the blasphemy against the Holy Ghost shall not be forgiven unto men. Right there. That's done and out for me. All manner of sin is forgiven. Jesus said it, I'm his bride, and that's our story. We're sticking to it. You're not born in sin. Now, the next time the word sin is used in the New Testament is by Peter. The third time the word sin is used is by John. Let's read it. John 1:29. The next day John seeth Jesus coming unto him, and saith, Behold the Lamb of God, which take away the sin of the world. So how does Jesus take away sin of the world? And no, Betsy, it's not to bleed out on a cross. That is ridiculous. That's a satanic narrative. That Jesus needed to bleed out on a cross for... No. I don't know how it gets more satanic than that. I don't know why anybody would think that Jesus needed to bloodshed. Come on. Come on now. You're under a spell. Jesus was never pinned to a cross. Do you think the Father of Lights is going to come into a human form and be allowed to be nailed onto it? Really? Wow. That narrative has you deeply snared in their nets. It only serves Satan's blood sacrifice. It gives justice to the bloodshed that the little g fallen gods need, the fallen angels need. That's what that serves. And Christians throw that kind of garbage around like it's candy. Do you see how the narrative is so evil? It's like nails on a chalk. It's like, what is going on here? It took me years to figure it out. But I stayed obedient in the living word. To this day, that's where I stay. The way Jesus came to take away the sin of this world is to teach you about karma. Doesn't matter if you have sex with that woman, but if you even think about having sex with that woman, you have committed the sin. That is to say, you created an alternative timeline in which you did have sex with that woman, just not here in this physical 3D timeline. And that karma keeps you, or I should say, that action has consequences. Everything Jesus taught was on karma, period. Read what he actually taught. He taught you how to become a bride, get off of this death-birth cycle that was given to, created by the fallen little g gods trapped in this dome. What Jesus taught you is cough. Like I said earlier with Psalm 82, after the very first verse, Psalm 82 verse 1, I told you what is being told there is cough. Cough, to boil it down, I don't have any more time to go through the 300 pages of what cough means, but to simply say, it is about spiritually moving past your animal nature and living a pure life of love, honesty, and being in service to others at all times, right? As Jesus taught us in Matthew 25. Cough has the Aramaic value of 100. You could read up on that to get the fullness of this teaching. Most of our Creator's creation that live in trans dimensions or inner dimensions, other dimensions in this dome do live in service to others. And they do radiate love. And they can look very scary to humans who cannot telepathically communicate, which is why no parent should be doing anything other than let your babies grow into their natural God-given abilities and please call them by their birth certificate name. Don't give them a nickname. Do not abbreviate. I can't imagine why you want to abbreviate a soul. Do not abbreviate their names. Their actual name. So let's wrap that up with John 10, verse 3. To him the porter opened, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leads them out. Anita K. Owens Potter out.